Okay, hey, what's up guys? Media Retrospective here, and today I'm going to be talking about Uzumaki Naruto from the Naruto series, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. If you aren't, I don't know why you clicked on this video, but anyway, let's get to it. So yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about something that's been bugging me for a while about Naruto. And just to be clear, Naruto is a series that I really loved growing up. You know, the world, the characters, kind of everything about it, you know. So it's a really great series, and it's not really a surprise that it was as popular as it is. But one thing I really don't like about Naruto is the ending. And I know lots of people have kind of already talked about, you know, a lot of the stuff that we think kind of went wrong, the war arc, Kaguya, you know, kind of things like that. But I don't really want to talk about any of that, to be honest. What I really want to talk about is Naruto himself as a character, and how I really feel like he ended up kind of failing at really accomplishing any meaningful change at the end of the series. And, you know, he kind of became a part of the system that he promised to change. You know, he promised us, he promised characters in the show. And for me, this is something that was quite sad, because I really liked Naruto as a character, and I really was looking forward to seeing, you know, what he would do as he kind of grew up and matured, and, you know, as he became Hokage and all those things. Um, so what do I mean by this? Well, I think we kind of have to go back to the beginning of Naruto here, and if you think about it, the Naruto world is pretty dark, and it's pretty horrible if you know, if you really stop and think about it. I mean, Naruto and all his friends are basically child soldiers. You know, you're kind of thrust into this world of sort of violence and brutality, you know, where it's just people are murdering each other and people are getting traumatized, there's massacres happening, and there's lots of examples of this throughout Naruto. I mean, maybe arguably more in part 1, but definitely still in Shippuden as well. If I pick out a couple of examples, the Chunin exam is a really good example of a really popular arc where basically, again, it's kind of the same thing, where it's very violent and young kids, basically these ninjas, are pitted against each other, they're murdering each other, they have to fight each other. It's very dark and it's very brutal if you think about it, and it's a really good arc. And Uchiha Massacre is another really good example of this kind of thing that I'm talking about, right? Where Sasuke, his whole family was murdered, killed everyone he knew, everyone he was friends with. He thought his brother was a murdering psychopath. It led to him growing up feeling alone and isolated, and it eventually led to him leaving the village. And not only leaving the village, but they ended up creating almost one of their own worst enemies, because when Sasuke inevitably found out what happened, he swore revenge on the village, and he actually killed Danzo, who was responsible for orchestrating the entire thing. And the only reason Sasuke was stopped was because Naruto actually took a stand against him and was able to change his mind and defeat him. But it could have very easily gone the other way, right? If Naruto had decided to maybe side with Sasuke, or maybe even Naruto might have left the village. I mean, Naruto also was not treated well by the village. This kind of darkness and brutality is reflected in a lot of the villains Naruto faces. And these villains, they're not just physical threats to Naruto. I mean, they are as well, but they're also kind of ideological contrast to Naruto, right? And most of his villains, and especially the more prominent ones, they're basically direct products of this kind of harsh ninja world that they've grown up in. And again, what do I mean by that? Well, let's pick out a few examples across the sort of the whole series. So one of the first villains Naruto faces is Zabuza, way back in the Land of Waves arc, right? And Zabuza was described as at one time being kind of a charismatic leader and sort of hopeful for the future, but he ends up becoming quite a cynical man who's basically just a mercenary for hire, right? And he sort of ends up becoming a murderer. And his academy graduation was actually murdering all of his classmates in the, what was it called, the Bloody Mist, right? That's what the village was called back then. And Haku, who is sort of his, you know, companion, was also a product of this kind of violence and war. He was abandoned because people feared his bloodline ability. Moving on from that, we have Neji, Neji's probably a really good example, right? Where Neji has this whole philosophy of your fate is preordained and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's because him and the rest of the branch family of the Hyuga are inflicted with this caged bird seal, which basically kind of makes them slaves to the main family, right? I mean, it's not really explored too much in the series, but if you really think about the implications of it, the main family can basically torture and kind of subdue the branch family whenever they want, and for whatever reason they want. You know, it's never kind of shown that there's any kind of oversight or anything. My sort of last example here is our Pain and Obito, right? Who are probably the biggest representations of this kind of the negative products of this sort of bad ninja system that's been set up. And not only do they hate and reject the world they've grown up in, but they both come up with their own extreme plans to change the world. And it again involves them inflicting violence and continuing that cycle of hatred and violence that is kind of a theme of the whole show, right? So this is what I mean when I say that all these characters come with their own perspectives on the ninja world and their own ideologies and their own solutions for how to fix this problem, right? And the problem is basically that the ninja world is not a very nice place to live in. But each of these people is a contrast to Naruto in their own way, right? And each of these people is actually beaten by Naruto. And as I mentioned, it's not just a physical confrontation. He's also winning the battle of ideologies, right? When Naruto beats each of these people, and this is kind of where the talk no jutsu comes from, he doesn't just beat them, he changes their mind, he changes their philosophy. He triumphs over them and shows to them that there is a better way of dealing with the world. He has the way, basically. He stands in contrast to these people because he is the one who doesn't give up. He doesn't allow the negativity of the world to taint him. And that's something which is quite admirable, and it's something I quite liked about the character, right? That he kind of still believes in changing the world through positive actions and making the world a better place, not also giving in to kind of the same cycle of violence, which he could very easily do, right? Especially by the end of the series where he becomes ridiculously powerful and unchallenged. He could easily do that, but that's not who he is. That he is the kind of the sole person who stands against this. And he kind of admits himself that he doesn't have all of the answers, especially at the point of kind of where the series takes place. So when he speaks to Pain, or Nagato, I should say, when he's kind of defeated the 6 paths of pain, and Nagato says to him, what is your answer? How are you going to fix things? And Naruto basically says, I don't know. I don't have an answer right now, but I will find a way. And that's what I was looking for, at the end of the series. I want to see how Naruto, with this strong conviction, was going to sort of take up the mantle and start changing things in the world. Now, the problem is that we get to the end of the series and, Naruto he doesn't really change anything. He becomes the Hokage, he beats Madara, he kind of becomes the almost leader of the ninja world, but he ends up just becoming a part of the system that has perpetuated all this violence and has created all these problems, and he doesn't seem to think that it's an issue by the end of the series, despite the fact that he told people like Nagato and he told people like Obito that he would change things for the better. And if we really examine what happened at the end, the cage bird seal is still a thing. There's no change to the system of the ninja villages, right? I mean, I know there's somewhat of a peace at the end of the series, but it's really a false peace if you ask me. I mean, you could kind of make a couple of arguments for why there is a peace at the end of the series, and probably the two main things I see are that firstly, Naruto's friends with most of the other leaders on a personal level, so they're kind of unlikely to fight with each other. And the second thing is, which you could say, is that Naruto and Sasuke are so strong that, to be honest, the prospect of war is probably hopeless against them. And that's all fine for the point we end the series at, but then what happens after Naruto dies, right? Or what happens after Naruto and Sasuke both die? There's no guarantee that future leaders are going to have the same kind of relationship with each other that Naruto has. And if it really is because of a fear of his and Sasuke's strength, then definitely there'll be conflicts after he passes away, because nothing in reality has changed about the system. So that's what really disappointed me about Naruto at the end of the series, and it's that he doesn't follow through on the promises he made. He becomes impotent in his own series. He just becomes another strong ninja who is a part of a system that results in kind of violence and fear, and it's not a good system. And it's just really sad. I think it's disappointing, and I think it's almost a betrayal of what Naruto really stood for. And when I pictured Naruto as Hokage or as an adult, I don't know why they chose to go down this path of showing Naruto as a bad husband and a bad father, and almost being a bad Hokage in the sense that he seems overwhelmed and he can't deal with it, he can't handle it. And this is a man who can create thousands of shadow clones. It just doesn't make sense. There's lots of weird contrivances to give Naruto this kind of odd struggle, and it's really not what I wanted to see from kind of a mature and grown up Naruto. I wanted to see him having an impact and being able to make a change, and it's just not there. And it's sad to see a character who we kind of loved and grew up with. Basically, yeah, it doesn't even seem like he enjoys being the Hokage anymore. It's just a job for him, right? He kind of got his dream, and his dream is just paperwork and struggling and not being able to be there for his family. And that's sad to see it. It's not really what I wanted to see from Naruto. So that's the video, really, guys. So basically, the bottom line is that Naruto is unable to make an impact on the world he lives in, and he is unable to deliver on the promises he made to characters throughout the series. And to me, that's a betrayal of what the character of Naruto stood for and what he represented, not only to the viewers but also to the people in universe who he won the hearts of. And it's just disappointing. So yeah, if you liked the video, let me know, and let me know what other sort of topics you'd like to see. Thank you.